Teaching science has changed over the years. Educators today not only help students understand science, but they also help develop students' sustainability mindsets. And here to help us understand what a sustainability mindset is Dr. Carol O'Donnell, Executive Director at the Smithsonian Science Education Center. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me.
Sure. Well, I know when we were kids and we took science, the teachers really just are helping you memorize the facts. But how has science teaching changed over the years?
So what you just described, really was what science education looked like in probably prior to the 1980s. It was very much about teaching facts. So, for example, the Earth is covered with, 75% of the Earth is covered with water. That's a fact. But then in the 1980s and the 1990s, we started to shift towards this idea of we should be having students do science. So science became much more like hands-on. So it went from the what to how should we teach science. And that was great, but it wasn't good enough. In the early 2000s, we started to integrate science with technology, engineering, even arts and mathematics, what we call STEM or STEAM education. And that was really because we were trying to prepare students for the future workforce. And while STEM degrees are certainly outgrowing non-STEM degrees, and that's important, I think the other thing we decided, and this has been much more recently, say since 2015, is that we also have to teach students why science is so important. And that's when we started to shift to this idea of what we call STEM education for sustainable development.
Okay, so tell us now a little bit more about sustainable development. What is that?
So the United Nations, the UN, defines sustainable development as where anything that we're doing today as a current generation, are we either over-consuming or not using our resources in a way that will allow future generations to have access to those resources? And so the idea is, how can we integrate this idea of teaching for sustainable development into classrooms so that students are recognizing that it's no longer just about the facts of science, like 75% of the Earth is covered in water. And it's not even about the doing of science, like I can measure the clarity of the water. It's really about why water studies are so important. For example, how can we bring fresh water to those in need?
And so is this that sustainability mindset then? This whole carry it through as to why we're doing these things. Is that what it is for the children?
Yeah, so sustainability mindsets are now an additional goal for science educators. The first is open-mindedness and reflection. The ability to say, if I'm going to study water in my community, I can't just focus on the science. I also have to focus on the ethics or justice of water. So is everyone getting access to that water equitably? I also want to make sure that there's this interconnectedness. That's a second mindset. That idea that if I do something in my home, like I just throw my plastic bottle into my backyard, it gets washed away into the waterway. Now it's all of a sudden in the Anacostia. Does that affect people's ability to drink water or to have access to fresh water or to boat? The other one is agency and action taking. Is there anything that I can do personally that will make a difference for my community when it comes to having access to, say, for example, fresh water?
Yeah, I feel like the way that this new teaching is unfolding really makes it so much more interesting for children. They're not just learning the facts, but now they're learning how it affects their lives and other people's lives. It really just takes it to that next level.
Yes.
You mentioned STEM education. Why is STEM education for sustainable development important to the Smithsonian?
So the Smithsonian has an initiative called Life on a Sustainable Planet. And so this initiative is really about what can the Smithsonian do to be a more sustainable organization, to the way we consume products or the way we consume our own water. But it's also this idea of the Smithsonian is uniquely positioned because it's a transdisciplinary organization. We can help students understand complex ideas from multiple perspectives, like the history, art, culture.
I understand that Washington Gas has partnered with and they're helping with an Environment Matters initiative. Tell us more about that.
So Washington Gas is partnering with WUSA 9 to be able to identify local schools who are engaging in environmental science issues like environmental justice. And one of the things that we agreed to do on behalf of WUSA 9 is to be able to bring to teachers in the DMV area free resources from the Smithsonian, free professional development for teachers to better understand how to educate students in this new way. So we're providing a teacher's resource guide called Environmental Justice. And it's basically teaching students about the environment, but using this new lens of sustainable development. So we're helping students look at their communities, discover what are the environmental issues in my local community, and it'll differ based on where students live. They'll focus on investigating the environment, using their community as their laboratory, and then they'll also develop new actions. Like, what are they seeing in their community that's healthy for the community, but that may not be healthy?
Sure.
And their actions will help to address that. And so we're providing that to these teachers who are in the DMV, who have wanted to become a part of this Eco Challenge that WUSA 9 has promoted.
Got it. Well, what a great partnership. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing all of this today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
To hear more about the Smithsonian Science Education Center and how WUSA 9 is working with the Smithsonian to support students and their teachers throughout the DMV, just go to WUSA9.com/EcoChallenge. You can also just scan the QR code on your screen.